Alright, today we'll be addressing the claim that wage labor is 100% voluntary. This is the claim that quite a few of you voluntarists and anarcho-capitalists mostly base your whole belief system on, that working for a business is 100% voluntary. And therefore, because you're working for a business voluntarily, wage labor is not indeed theft. So, in an anarcho-capitalist society, theft would probably be forbidden by just society in general, or even privatized police departments. If I were to steal something from you, or in other words, take it from you without your voluntary consent, you could call this privatized police department. They'd lock me up, or maybe give back what I took from you. Or, of course, they would try to, or at least that society yourself would try to give you back what is rightfully yours, what was taken from you without your consent. Basically, I think we can all agree that no one has the right to take what is rightfully yours without your consent. But your employer takes what you produce. The whole wealth produced by labor is taken by capitalists and kept as their property. But this is okay because you consented, right? In an anarcho-capitalist society, you basically would probably agree that your employer does not steal anything from you because it's done with your consent. You have agreed to work for your boss for a certain pay, and he to keep whatever you produce. And because you consented to it, he's technically not stealing from you. Or did you consent to it? When a highwayman holds a gun to your head, you turn your valuables over to him. You consent, all right, but you do so only because you are compelled to by his gun. Are you not compelled to work for your employer by a similar factor? Your need compels you, just as the highwayman's gun. You must live, and so must your wife and children. Unfortunately, you can't work for yourself. Under the capital industrial system, you must work for an employer. Factories, machinery, and the tools belong to the employing class, so you must hire yourself out to them and therefore live. Whatever you work at, whoever your employer may be, it always comes down to the same. You must work for him or someone else like him. You can't help yourself. You are compelled by the whip of necessity. In this way, the working class really has no choice but to work for the upper class. We are unfortunately compelled at this same whip of necessity point to give up all that we produce. The employer gets to keep what you produce, while you get to keep maybe that agreed upon wage, just enough to live on. Is this not cheating? Is this not robbery? In an anarcho-capitalist system, this may be seen as a free agreement, just as well as the highwayman may say you agreed to give up your valuables. When the highwayman does this, this is called robbery and is forbidden, but when the capitalist does it, it's called business, industry, profit-making, and is protected. But rather not as in the capitalist way or the highwayman way, you are being robbed. The whole capitalist system rests on such robbery. The whole system of law and government also rests on this robbery, and in a corporatism case, it upholds this sort of robbery. Many of you will say, if you don't like it, you can go start a commune, or you can go become self-employed. This is not anywhere as easy as you may think. In order to get to these places, you must give yourself to this slavery. This is almost like saying, or for instance, go start a business. I'll go back to my highwayman analogy of, if you just keep on giving way to the highwayman, maybe eventually you'll have enough to become a highwayman yourself. While in an AWA system that is set up the correct way, I believe that if communes are set up beforehand, if it's not by default anarcho-capitalism, and you actually can live a more decent lifestyle, working with wage labor, and you do always have the option of going back to a commune to escape from this, you ought to be able to. I just can't exactly foresee this happening. Unless, of course, an employer can give you more than your surplus value and give you access to basic house, food, and water, which I suppose is possible. And it would just be very hard to do. If that does happen, no one should have the freedom to tell you can't. But for in this case to arise, I believe that would be very hard. So before you say that socialism is restricting your freedom by saying you can't go and start a business, I would like to point out, of course you can. It would just be not very useful. You wouldn't get very far. It would just be the same as me starting a really bad government that you can voluntarily submit to in an anarcho-capitalist society. It would just be pointless. Anyway, that sums this up. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.